Scooby Doo and the Alien Invaders was released directly to video in October of 2000. This film was living in the height of Scooby movies, with The Witch's Ghost having dropped a year prior and the cyber chase to follow in 2001. Obviously, Scooby Doo had existed through various forms and projects since 1969, and the franchise continues to update and reform into modern times. However, there was something extra special to these Y2K classics. Granted, I know that's partially a personal preference informed by nostalgia, but I think the stories and animation of that time very much hold up as shining examples of media. Scooby Doo was a comfort show for me when I was in my 2 to 6 years old eras. At this time, I was the youngest child in my family, and my older siblings were in school all day, so I had full reign of the TV. I would often rewatch my Scooby Doo VHS tape collection in between morning and afternoon must-see PBS Kids content. Honestly, it makes sense that I talk about TV so much, as I really did watch what is probably considered too much of it, a habit formed since birth that persists decades later. But from that, I have a great understanding and appreciation of media, and sharing that is really the core essence of my channel. This was always my favorite Scooby Doo movie, with Cyberchase being a close second. I think the Alien Invaders takes the cake for the sole reason of Crystal and Shaggy's love song. That scene was super hyped up in advertisements and previews to include the pogo stick Scooby Doo toy, and I love the visuals and overall vibe of the song. This movie also carries a bit of a personal legacy for me. In my earliest years of drinking, I made a fool of myself singing the Groovy song in front of my family on New Year's Eve. A man I knew also once scored a second date by watching this film after the praise I gave it on our date the night before. Scooby Doo is first date material, guys. The films have come up with other friends and acquaintances of mine throughout the years as well. This movie left a large impact on multiple generations. Let's now investigate the plot to find out why. The opening scene begins in outer space, slowly zooming in to a desert on Earth. It's actually pretty cool looking. We see three important characters for this film, workers at a satellite monitoring station listening for sounds from space. They pick up on something, but it disappears just as quick. Cut to Shaggy driving the mystery machine in the desert night, his loud music waking the rest of the gang in the back. In the confusion of a dust storm, they drive onto government land where they have a UFO sighting. After crashing into a saguaro, the gang splits up into the usual subunits. Fred, Daphne, and Velma begin their walk into town as Shaggy and Scooby stay by the van. They fight for the last of the Scooby snacks, which leads to a jackalope sighting. They chase it to a cave where aliens then appear and chase them. The Scooby-Doo theme plays with an updated cover as the chase unfolds throughout the desert, resulting in Shaggy and Scooby sliding down a rock cliff straight into town where they reunite with the others. At the diner in town, staffed with a couple of quirky characters, we learn that alien sightings are somewhat common round these parts. We also meet Lester, who seems to be regarded as the town crazy, for lack of a better term. He is voiced by the voice actor for Johnny Bravo, which I found interesting and would never have guessed. The gang goes to question him for more information, and he regales them with his tale of alien abduction. Straight away, Fred is skeptical. There's kind of a gross scene here, as Shaggy eats a bunch of food from the floor, and I don't know, watching this in modern day, Shaggy's kind of icky. And I have more reasoning on that opinion to come. I still like him, but dude, come on. The Scooby Gang heads to Lester's place, where he claims to have pictures of the aliens. I always thought his house was kind of cool, but I also know that I'm drawn to the weirdos and outcasts, for better and worse. But objectively, in the year 2000, Lester was clearly being painted as like a wacky X-Files one-off guest star weirdo. Turns out Lester is a landscape artist, and I would so hang one of his paintings in my home. They are very pretty, and I love, love, love the landscape shown in this film. Velma finds a painting that looks like the ship they saw earlier. He also provides backstory on the satellite dishes called South, Search for Alien Life Forms, put up by the government a year prior. The gang is forced to stay with Lester due to lack of lodging in the town. Shaggy and Scooby are relegated to the roof, but I always thought that was the coolest place to sleep anyway. The view of the beautiful desert night is unmatched. In their sleep, they are abducted by aliens. They awaken strapped down on what appears to be an alien ship. There is a sequence of them trying to escape, but they eventually pass out. When they awaken again, they are out in the sunny desert with a beautiful hippie girl and her golden retriever worried about them. The boys are immediately smitten. We learn that the girl is a freelance photographer named Crystal and her dog's name is Amber. Immediately, the hippie humans bond over their groovy lingo. They head to town in Crystal's super cute Jeep. In this sequence, Shaggy eats one of Amber's dog biscuits, which miraculously doesn't give Crystal the ick. They part ways temporarily at the diner and the gang reunites. Dottie the waitress begins her first of many advances on Fred that he does not reciprocate and seems to make him uncomfortable. Some writer must have thought that was humorous, I guess. The diner's cook, Sturge, kind of challenges her on her behavior, though. As Shaggy and Scooby act all lovesick, there's a funny scene where Fred sniffs Shaggy's water bottle, seemingly to check for alcohol. It seems a little out of place for Scooby Doo, but it's subtle and I did laugh. Next is my aforementioned favorite scene of the film, the sequence that made me fall in love with the film as a girl, the song that will always be ingrained in my heart and in my mind, Groovy. First of all, the epic transition from Dottie walking turning into Crystal is top tier. Essentially, this song is Shaggy describing his love fantasy he has about Crystal. He believes she is perfect for him and that they will live out a happily ever after together. The song begins, I met my chance, a girl in bell-bottom pants, and she likes to say groovy. Later on, he says it will be a dream come true. She's even got a doggy for Scooby Doo. Even as cute as this is, and as much as I still very much cherish it, Shaggy honestly comes across very selfish, and it's all about Crystal fitting his fantasy, what she can provide. She's tall enough to change the light bulbs, she'll cook him dinner, she's rowing the boat. It's also very presumptuous, like, oh, I'm sure this stranger wants to marry me and have a child that will obviously be a son who we will name after me. To be fair, Shaggy does also say that he'll do things for her. He'll take her shopping, which she's shown no indication of enjoying. They'll travel the world, etc. But something's not sitting right here. And granted, this is Shaggy's fantasy and not reality, but he is giving entitled man baby. I hate to say it. I do love their tie-dye wedding and sick-ass 1969 inspired house. Like, I actually wanted a tie-dye wedding when I was younger because of this. Notably, the pogo stick Scooby scene that's literally like 2 seconds is in this sequence as well, which many have clocked was added just to sell toys. We return to reality and the guys share about their alien abduction. The gang heads to the local mechanic to ask for help with the mystery machine. They don't get along super well with Buck, the mechanic, for no real reason. They encounter Max, one of the South workers, picking up an obscene amount of oil. He agrees to show the gang around the station, but Crystal picks up the lover boys and they all head off into the desert. Amber finally warms up more to Scooby, and Shaggy attempts to impress Crystal, but not really. He literally thinks that she's going to kiss him, and again, sorry, I usually love Shaggy, but he is so, entitled and icky in this. Crystal has been nice to him, but up until this point has given no overt signals of romantic interest. Like, light flirting, sure, but that's it. I'll make a comment now, too, about Scorpion Ridge, which is a part of the desert in the thick of all of the action that has been referenced many times. And it does look like a really cool scorpion stinger. Anyway, the other members of the gang are learning about South from the low-key weirdos working there. One of which is voiced by Mark Hamill, of all people, and, that's a heavy hitter for such a weak character, even with the reveals that are coming. Velma clocks their weird behavior and the mud on their shoes. Back to the others, there's a funny scene where Shaggy thinks he's talking to Crystal and asks if she has a boyfriend, to which the military policeman who shows up answers, "As a matter of fact, I don't." I know that this was very much not likely to have been intended to be LGBTQ plus friendly at all, but I'm taking it that way. The MPs kick them out of the restricted area as the government is looking into alien abductions, supposedly. Crystal is a boss and stands up to them but reluctantly leaves, calling them Neanderthals, which was my first introduction to that word as a child. Later, when I would study human evolution in college, I would learn that it's actually pronounced Neanderthal. Crystal immediately wants to go back to the restricted area and reveals to Shaggy that she's not a nature photographer. She's a government agent sent to investigate alien sightings. Back to the others, Lester picks them up and takes them to Scorpion Ridge so they can further investigate after Velma shares her suspicions. They come across the mechanic out in the desert and have another brusque interaction. Their investigation takes them into the same cave system that Shaggy and Scooby take Crystal to, and they all discover the caves are filled with gold. The aliens then appear, and a classic Scooby Doo movie type of song, "The Aliens Are Here," plays throughout a chase scene. I have to highlight some of the lyrics because they're wild to me. The aliens are here to get the human race. The aliens are here. They're icky, bug-eyed beings from outer space, ugly, green, and slimy all over the place. Who knows what they'll do? If they grab you, say toodaloo, dude. If they catch you on their ship, they'll experiment on you and turn you into something for their interstellar zoo, dude. We are also shown that the military policemen are working with the aliens. Thelma confronts them as she knows that it's actually the South workers who then make themselves known. Their motive and story are revealed. They stumbled across the gold cave when working, a cave which was previously a mine abandoned in the 1800s. They decided to mine the gold themselves, as technically it is on government land and they didn't want to report it. The MPs are also their friends that they hired to monitor the area for them. The alien costumes scare the locals and explain the mysterious sounds that are actually just them drilling. The spaceship is a helicopter that they modded out to look like a UFO. They also built a spaceship set within the cave system. I am sorry, but this is such an elaborate ruse. Like, they're doing way too much just to distract the locals. I think they love the theatrics and drama. Meanwhile, the MPs corner Shaggy, Scooby, Crystal, and Amber, and we see Crystal and Amber reveal their true alien forms to scare them away. This is truly a crazy reveal to first-time watchers, though, of course, once you see it, it becomes difficult to forget. I really like their alien designs, too. Very unique and interesting. All characters then reunite for the final confrontation. I will continue to call Shaggy out as he tells the ladies, "Stand aside, this is man's work." Oh, Shaggy, why you gotta be like this right now? Crystal and Amber reveal themselves again, this time with everyone seeing. The Mark Hamill guy pivots to trying to capture the real aliens as he thinks they're even more valuable than the gold. Shaggy and Scooby have a final moment of heroism to save the alien girls. The South workers and MPs are taken care of, and Crystal comes clean about her true self. She is a government agent, but from another planet. She and Amber, who now openly can speak, shared that they came to investigate signals sent from the South Station. It also turns out that they first received decades-old television broadcast signals from Earth as well. This is why Crystal is dressed in late 60s garb. She was trying to emulate what she thought was actually the popular Earth style. Before they are beamed up to their mothership, they share one final goodbye. Crystal basically friend-zones Shaggy and states that long-distance relationships never work out. The doggy goodbye is almost sweeter, and Fred cries at the display. A kiss goodbye and they are gone. Tying up loose ends, the South members are arrested. Buck the mechanic brings them their van, and he reveals that he was collecting flowers out in the desert the day before, which he presses and collects. So they were just randomly judging the sweet autistic mechanic for no reason. They all climb in the mystery machine, heartbreak eased slightly by some Scooby snacks. They drive into the sunset, or sunrise, I actually don't know, alien ship above them, and jackalope below. The end. This is a pretty epic little self-contained tale. I still very much enjoyed it, though obviously I have different thoughts now as compared to child me. When I was a kid, and I mean really very young, like I was in preschool when this came out, I was so infatuated by Crystal and the Groovy song, I was like, yes, this is the love that I need. Now, the first time actually watching this film as an adult, I see things quite differently. It's actually very sad because Shaggy thinks he's found his soulmate in another human who is like him, who is his brand of weird, and who wants the same things. But Crystal was not ever that person for him. They share a very genuine connection, and I think it's highly valuable and irreplaceable. It's just not an endgame vibe. And Shaggy almost hurts himself more in the process by projecting all of that onto her. It's sweet in the sense that the movie doesn't diminish the importance of friendship and connections that do not work out romantically. Just because Shaggy and Crystal don't have a chance to be together doesn't mean that they should just throw the baby out with the bathwater and negate the whole connection. They both felt affection for one another, however short-lived, and the fact that their care and interest transcended species is very cool. Also, I guess it's just canon from this point on that Scooby and the gang know that aliens exist. Like, it's actually wild to think about how they befriended two extraterrestrials, but it's kind of treated like no big deal, which again, I think is cool. It's a secret that they are apparently going to keep forever. To that end, I think the characters of Crystal and Amber are really cool. They have their own motives and mission, they are kind hearted, they are brave and headstrong. As someone who chooses to believe in benevolent extraterrestrials, I am all about it. Plus, as I mentioned, their designs, both as Earthlings and as their actual selves, are 10 out of 10. I do wish we maybe learned more about their origins, and I think there's definite potential to have a sequel, maybe where somehow the Scooby Gang is in space and goes to their homeworld. But I also think that having it be a quick one shot type of story makes it even more significant in a way. Quickly touching on the other characters of the film, I want to give props to Velma for being the smartest one and basically single handedly figuring out the entire villain plot. Props to Fred for being consistently there and helpful when needed. And Daphne really didn't do anything in this film, I'm sorry to say. The villains were interesting, the twist was good, it was very classic Scooby Doo in the sense that the real monsters are always human. But yeah, I had wanted to revisit this film as I do tend to give it high praise, and I needed to see if that was still warranted. I'd say it is. It's a good movie, it's quick, it's funny, it's pretty, it's vibey. If you don't want to watch the movie, I would at least recommend looking up the Groovy song because that will definitely be worth your while if you are any semblance of a Scooby fan. And as this is coming out basically in alignment with Valentine's Day, there's some extra romantic flair in the air, perhaps. Lastly, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I would be curious, as always, to hear any opinions or thoughts you have down in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you're interested. As I mentioned earlier, I talk about all manner of media on my channel, so please check me out. Thank you and have an out of this world day.